All right, welcome back. Now we're going to talk about when we need to activate the breakdown of glycogen, which is glycogenolysis, which is simply breaking down glycogen to produce an individual glucose molecule. This is going to occur when there is hypoglycemia or low blood sugar. The liver has the ability to regulate our blood glucose levels by breaking down glycogen. And then in the muscle, we're going to break down glycogen for local energy during low carbohydrate consumption, as well as during activity, specifically higher intensity activities, and a good source of energy for the first 30 minutes or so of endurance training. So what happens here is glucagon is actually going to come in and attach and get this process started. It is going to stimulate glycogen to release an enzyme called phosphorylase, which will then take the reverse of making glycogen. So we're going to go from glycogen to UDP glucose to glucose 1-phosphate. From glucose 1-phosphate, we're going to go to, glucose 6-phosphate. At this point, depending on where we're at in the body, glucose 6-phosphate is either going to stay local inside that cell, or we can convert it to glucose and let it escape into the bloodstream. So that's the first example. That's the first example here where we take glucose 6-phosphate and we're going to use glucokinase is the enzyme and produce glucose. Now this glucose molecule can then, can escape into the bloodstream. And this is what will help regulate those blood sugars when it's hypoglycemic. Whereas if we're in the muscle, the enzyme which converts glucose 6 back to glucose doesn't have that ability. So that is hexokinase, where we are not allowed to actually cleave off this phosphate group here. Therefore, it needs to stay inside the cell and go through glycolysis. So again, just a recap, we take glycogen, we break it down through all the way to glucose 6-phosphate. At this point, if we're in the liver, we can convert it to glucose by removing that phosphate group and then allowing it to regulate blood sugar levels. If it's in the muscle, it has to stay localized because we don't contain the enzyme ability to remove this phosphate group, which is required for it to escape the cell membrane. So we're just going to go through the actual glycolysis process here in the muscle.